In the Minecraft skin community, light sourcing is... you know what? I'm bad at wording this kind of thing. Let's just give an example. If you browse the front page on the Skindex, you'll sometimes notice a skin that really stands out. A lot. So most Minecraft skinners use their shading mainly to convey depth. Styles vary quite a bit between creators, but they always emphasize inherently dark areas, like the space between the arms and the torso, or between the legs. Most of us aren't really concerned with direction, and the thing is, we don't really need to be. Loads of amazing skinners make little to no use of light sourcing. Still, I think we can agree that the shading styles of Warfamacht and Otter Emperor have an impressiveness that few can match. So clearly it's logical for me, someone with a very simple shading style, to try shading the exact opposite way. Okay, I think I'm underselling myself a bit here. I have experimented in the past, and while not everything I tried was successful, they've mostly moved me forward. But can I do light sourcing? Well, let's see how well I do trying to light source the back of my Persona's t-shirt. So today I've decided to try something new that I haven't really done in quite a while. If you notice, the last few videos have all just been like me giving post commentary after the video, but in this one I want to actually kind of do it, basically I'm commentating as I go, because light sourcing, because it takes a long time to do, it's kind of more of a thing that would be associated with skins from a few years ago than the kind of thing you see now. You know, most of the top skins, if you go on Skindex, their shading isn't particularly complex, or at the very least you wouldn't really describe it as light sourced. But anyway, with that out of the way, we do have to actually decide what skin we're actually going to use for our light sourcing. And basically, the skin we want to start off with should be a really simple one. Like, one that's in pretty much a plain t-shirt. But the thing is, a lot of my skins are a bit more than that. So, it's not really easy to pick out what skin I should actually do. I think, really, the best idea would be this one. Yup, I'm serious. I pretty much believe that there isn't going to be a better skin to try to do this light sourcing experiment on than this one. So yeah, you see, sometimes it actually works out to have a boring persona. But anyway, we gotta actually start with how we're going to shade this, or how we're going to light source it. So the first thing I want to do is just change the shade of red that I'm using here slightly. And the reason I'm doing that is basically because the saturation and value on this is already quite close to the max. I'll just turn that down so that there's a better contrast when we do the light sourcing. So that's that there. So now the first thing we're going to do with this color is just shade in my usual style. If it could actually, you know, just get the numbers right the first time though, that would be kind of nice as well. So we're just going to shade that the way I normally do. I know the contrast here looks kind of dull, but it's all going to be that dull, so that doesn't really matter that much. So now it's shaded, as you can see, in my usual style. You know, it's simple enough and quite blocky, and it just uses 3 different colors. I think there's a good enough contrast between all of them that we can finally continue on to the first part of light sourcing, which is just going to be adding 1 extra color. So let's begin with that. So starting off with this 4th color, we're going to make it lighter than all the previous. So that will be this color here, as you can see. And now we're just going to mark the highlights on the right side of the skin with that lighter color. For reference, I always had this skin represent being like lit up more. That's why I have this highlight here on the hair skewed over to the right. I'm kind of bad at wording that, but I hope you understood what I was saying. So let's now continue on with doing the rest of this. So this is what it looks like when we increase the brightness of the right side by 1 shade. But you can hardly really call this light sourcing. I mean, this is basically just what certain skinners do with their shading style. I think Burb Lover does this. It's not really light sourcing, but can we turn this into light sourcing without adding an extra color? Let's try it out. So I think the first thing I'm going to try doing is moving this over here, maybe. And we'll select this, put that in there. Alright, things are looking good. So now there's like an element of light sourcing to this, but it's still kind of, I don't know, it's not the most high detail and overall looks pretty symmetrical, which is generally not what you're going for with light sourcing, but maybe we can change things around when we add a fifth color. So let's try that out. So the fifth color we'll try out is going to be darker than the previous four. So this is what we'll use. And it will go in the darkest spots over on the left, like that. If we zoom out, you can see this is what it looks like now. And you can see a little bit of a, I don't know, a bit of a shadow effect starting to appear here. But let's see if we can make that look a little better and perhaps a little smoother. So the first thing we're going to do is use the darker shade a bit more, and I need to actually undo that so I can get this next darkest shade back, and we'll just like put this in, I'd say about that often. Then we'll try this one, put that in there, and we'll also do this here. So now you'll notice I'll start increasing the detail on these muscles. Yeah, that's basically what they're meant to be, right? They kind of look like muscles, I guess, even though they're usually not meant to be very muscular skins, if you get what I'm saying. I really don't know what I'm saying. So now we've added in all the 5 colors, and as you can see, it doesn't look terrible, but it does give a slight reminder of my really old shading style that basically looked like way too much of a gradient. So what we're going to do now is try to refine this and see if we can make it look a little bit better. So let's try that out. So I guess the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to make this kind of blob quite a bit bigger, maybe about that size. And then we'll go back in with this part. And maybe it goes somewhere like here or here. Yeah, let's do that. I'm going to actually increase the shadow on the bottom left a little bit, but there's a little bit of a gradient forming here, and I don't really like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually extend this even more, so that kind of gets filled in a little, and this will move over as well. Actually, let's move that here. Yeah, I know, I'm not using the palettes. I rarely use the palettes. Even though it can save time, I just end up not benefiting because I never actually remember to use them. So I spend all this time hitting this and then going to my palette when I didn't need to click the color picker tool. And now, is there anything we could do on this side maybe? It doesn't seem like it. It seems like all of this is good to go, really. Zoom out a little bit more again. I think I will actually turn this up a bit more again, and you can see now that, yeah, things are starting to come together a bit more, and we're starting to see this really bright parts emerging here, the dark parts emerging there, but a very nice transition between those lightest and darkest parts. And yeah, I think it looks pretty good. Is it the most light sourcey? Perhaps not. Maybe this lightest part goes over a bit too much. But if we add more colors, maybe we can kind of shift the effect a little bit. So let's try that. Actually, before we try that, we're going to just try one little thing with these lightest parts on the back and see if maybe we can give a little bit more of a light sourcing effect by making this little part here look a little darker. So let's try that out. I'm not sure I'm going to actually get very far trying this though. So this is really the best of what I managed to get done on this upper part of the back here. I just managed to make this little corner darker and nothing else really looked good when I tried it. So I'm just going to undo all that, because no matter what I did, it would either look too weird or too gradient or too blocky. So I'm going to undo all that, and then we'll move on to trying 6 colors. So since our main goal has actually been to darken this part here on the left, it stands to reason then that our 6th color will be darker than any of the others. So this is the color we're going to be using, and we're going to select once again just the very darkest parts on the left, and then everything else we're going to go to the next darkest and go over those, and we'll do the same here. We're actually going to end up darkening this whole lighter part, so now it looks like this, and from there we'll start to darken this side. For this part of the video with 6 colors, this side here on the right is basically going to be the exact same as how it looked at 5 colors. All the focus will be on this side and making it look a bit darker while still having a good transition. So let's get on with that. So now we're going to have to deal with our old nemesis here. This little part on the left of the upper back, near the shoulder. I guess here would actually be where the shoulder blade is. And I mean, it's not going to be terribly difficult, but it's not going to be the easiest either. So in order to make this look good, will take a little bit of effort. And also it'll take a little bit of memorization of what colors where all the colors actually lie in my palette, because I seem to not be able to remember that for whatever reason. Yeah, I seem to be running into an issue here on trying to make the transition look as good as possible, because there are quite a few different ways to go about this, but they all look slightly off. I can't seem to arrive at a happy medium no matter what I try, which is a little annoying. Let's zoom out on this. Yeah, that looks kind of good, but at the same time, it isn't the most satisfying. Let's move this up here. Wait, no, that's not where that goes. You can move this up here, move this back in. So we can still increase the contrast a little bit on this part. So we'll do that. And now this brightest stone will move over a little bit to here. Let's just expand that a little bit. Yeah, that looks kind of good, but at the same time, you know, maybe it could be a bit more of a contrast. So we're going to go back and use these slightly darker colors and see what we can get to by doing that. Let's continue to add in this slightly darker zone, or maybe not that dark. Oh, what does this look like? Because I want a good kind of transition, you know? So that's 90, 85, and 80. So that's literally all we can do there. It looks a bit too sharp and sudden, but let's see. If we move this over here, maybe? How does it look now? I think maybe something like that could look good. I don't really like how dark this line is, though. Maybe something could be done about that. Okay, I think things are really starting to come together now. So now we're going to add in the 7th color, but to be honest, I'm not even sure if that's a good idea. I mean, as you can see it right here, this is what it looks like with 6 colors, and the detail is already very high. I don't really see how we can make this look much better at this point by adding another color, but hey, maybe we could just make it look better just from the increase in contrast. I don't know really, let's see. So our 7th color is going to be the lightest out of all of them. This is the color we're going to be using, as you can see here. It's almost like a tanned skin color, or even sunburnt maybe? I don't really know. All I do know is it's very bright compared to this darkest shade. I mean, look at the contrast right here. Using this brightest color is definitely going to be a bit of a challenge. But you never know, maybe we can get something out of this. One thing we're definitely going to do with adding this new color is lightening the dark part of the right side of the skin, as you can see me doing right here. So now we're almost there. We've pretty much lightened all of this bright area on the back here. But now once again, I just want to make these little corners on the bottom left darker to really amplify the sort of shadow effect. show that the light is coming from this side and this side is relatively dark. So now the left side is darkened and we're getting really close, but it seems like no matter what I do, I always end up a little bit dissatisfied just at the boundary of where this lightest shade goes. But overall, I think that this turned out very well, with about half an hour of recording, not including any pauses I took to put down timestamps. This is the result I got, and as you can see, I think it looks pretty good. Once again, I am pretty much almost certainly not going to be using light sourcing for shading any of the skins that I make, just because it takes quite a long time. As you can see, like, just doing this took me 30 minutes. So could you imagine doing that for every skin? Doing that with, like, all these complicated patterns? Yeah, it just doesn't really work. And also, as patterns on something get more complex, they get harder to shade. And the same thing also goes for when the colors of two different parts of the skin are quite similar to each other. So you know the way you have this black here and then this dark gray here? Really, they're both dark gray, but just imagine that this is black and this is dark gray. If I used more detailed shading, then these colors could actually merge with each other and it might actually end up looking worse. So to be clear, while light sourcing is impressive and can look very good, it's not really necessary, and there's a reason why you don't see it that much on the top page of Skindex. So what's the final answer? Can I light source? Well, if you're talking about the back of a t-shirt, then I suppose I can light source. This kind of thing gets a lot more complicated though once you start adding stripes or patterns or other details. There's definitely a point where your colors start to merge and you end up with a bit too much of a gradient effect. You saw a bit of that yourself in this video. Once again, if I haven't made it clear enough, I don't plan to start light sourcing most of my skins. Skins can still look great without light sourcing, as you'll know just from browsing the Skindex. I might still try again with other parts like hair and pants, I don't really know yet. But anyway, if you like this video, then be sure to hit the like button down below. In the next video, I'll continue on remaking more of my old skins. So if that sounds good, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and have a good night or day.